Hey, greetings everyone from our home to yours. I hope that this finds you safe and well. Welcome to another episode of us journeying through the Bible and finding Jesus throughout. Today, our breadcrumbs take us to the book of Psalms. The Psalms are a collection of songs, poems, prayers, thoughts, predominantly wrote by David. But the theme of them all are the key ideas and characteristics of God. And truthfully, Jesus is found throughout the Psalms, everywhere. And even on the cross, Jesus is heard quoting or rather singing Psalm 22. But perhaps the most known and popular psalm is the breadcrumb that I'd like to focus on today and to use this week, and that is Psalm 23. And we all know it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In the time of David, when he wrote this, and even on into Jesus' time in the Middle East, and somewhat today, shepherds keep their sheep in pens and in sheepfolds. And this was to protect the sheep from the weather, but mainly from wild animal and from thieves, because sheep were very valuable. Not only did they bring food, clothing, but they were a barter system. They were expensive. I should say they were valuable. And they were the livelihood of many people. And so the shepherd did everything with them. They ate, slept, they were with them all the time. And they would lead them from these pens that they would, when Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, or I am the gate, he was talking about being that shepherd that laid down at the door of the pen to protect the sheep from thieves and wild animals. And a lot of shepherds would flock their sheep together in big flocks, and then they would take them out and find green pastures separately. One would go one way and one would go the other way. So when it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, what they are saying is that Jesus as our shepherd provides for us, provides protection, provides shelter, and he takes us out into green pastures, meaning good taste in food. He gives us peace. He lets us lie down beside the water. And in those times, just going to get some water is dangerous. Remember the psalm that said, as the deer panteth for the water. And it was the worst time for them in their safety, was they were at their most vulnerable when they were drinking water. So the shepherd was there to guide them, protect them, provide for them, give them peace. And when the verse talks about leading them through the valley of the shadow of death, what that meant was literally when they would go through valleys, they would have to worry about predators that were waiting in ambush, but also about the enemy. The metaphor is there for that the enemy is waiting for us in those dark places, but that the shepherd will take us through and protect us from the enemies, from those predators. The rod and the staff. So if you ever see pictures of a shepherd, so the staff was used to walk, but also to protect, and sometimes cajole and push when needed. But the rod was crooked, and it would be to save sheep, pull them out of the ravines, to protect them. But the psalmist says that they were there to comfort. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And those are metaphors and allusions to the idea that sometimes rules, sometimes what God asks us to do as far as those rules or guidelines, they're there to help us. They're there to protect us. They're there so that we're safe. And if you don't know anything about sheep are a pretty amazing animal. They're weak. Predators can kill them rather easily. They don't have much to defend themselves. That's where shepherds and in our case, sheepdogs are there to help protect them. I lived on a farm, but we did not have sheep, but I worked for a farmer who did, and I worked for that farmer for well over a year before I realized that he had sheep. The sheep were kept out to pasture far away from where the pigs were, and we call it the back 40, and they stayed out there until it was time for them to start lambing and shear them. And one day the farmer, said, get in the truck. And we went out and got in the pasture, and he's out in the middle of nowhere, and he just starts yelling, sheep, sheep. And we sat there for I don't know how long. And then all of a sudden, all these sheep started coming up to the truck. He turned the truck around. The sheep followed the truck to the barn. And what was happening was the farmer in the evenings, when I wasn't around, he would go out and he would take care of the sheep. And the sheep knew him and trusted him, and he was their shepherd. So when the sheep started lambing, I was taking care of them. I was feeding them, cleaning out the pens, taking care of their food, everything. And it came to the point where the sheep now recognized me as their shepherd. And so I was leading them out to get water. I was leading them out to get feed. And when the second season rolled around for us to call them out of the pasture, I was able to call them because now they recognized my voice. Sheep, as far as work, other than the shearing, are pretty easy to take care of. They just eat grass, and as long as they're safe from predators, you're okay. They kind of move as a crowd, but it's okay. They're kind of fun to have around, especially when those little lambs are playing. And I don't know if you haven't picked it up in your Christian journey yet or not, but sheep are a metaphor for us, Christians. And as Jesus tells us, he is our shepherd. And that's what the psalmist is referring to here. And then, of course, Jesus tells us in John that he is the shepherd. But think about that. Think about everything that I just said about sheep. Have you ever thought about how valuable a sheep is to the shepherds, especially back then? So when the Bible uses the metaphor of sheep, we're God's sheep, and we are invaluable to him. We are so valuable to him that he would lay his life down for us. Because sheep are valuable. They're valued, and they're vulnerable. When it comes to the thieves and the shadow of death part of this whole thing, that metaphor still sticks because there are a lot of thieves, a lot of people who would love to rob us, not just the devil, but also people that would love to rob our value, to take who we are, to mess us up, to steal our joy, to give us anxiety and to give us stress and pain and destroy us. I mean, we as humans do a pretty good job of destroying each other, but a lot of times when people find out that we are Christians, they become predators and they want to hurt us. Their motivation is to tear us down and destroy our faith and destroy our joy. And that's why everything that we do has to be about Jesus. Everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we think has to be about Jesus. Because he is the one that will protect us. He is the one that is our shepherd. And I know pastors are also seen to be shepherds, but Jesus is really our shepherd. Most pastors won't lay their life down for their sheep, but Jesus does. Maybe we're more like the hired hands as a pastor and not the shepherd. Think about that. But Jesus, he is our shepherd because we, his sheep, are valued and valuable. And when we are part of Jesus' flock, we have a great life because he said he's the gate, he's the good shepherd. He will let us in, he will protect us. He will keep us out of danger, and he gives us rest. So may we go this week remembering that surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, because we are his sheep, and he will lay down his life for us. Grace and peace to you. God bless you. Have a great week.